So, this is going to be a tunic making class. Is anybody going to cut out a pattern for their tunic while we're here? Because I brought fabric for anyone that wants to actually cut it out and
Sure.
take it home to sew. Okay, awesome. So,
oh wow, that's I'll do it.
Fantastic. So unfortunately I don't have machines for everyone.
That's okay.
But if we can cut it all out together and we can talk about, I can show you the sewing part. Probably, I mean it's really easy. A T-tunic is one piece with the second piece for a neckline interfacing. So actually we may need a couple more scissors. If you guys want to pass, this is the primary fabric, and some of those lengths are long enough for several tunics.
I want to bring it. Yeah, this is several. Yes, but I like this.
That would be easy.
Yeah. Kids' tunics are super easy. You can do it with half a yard sometimes of fabric. Yeah, that's great.
This one is no problem. This one's great. Definitely.
And I think that would be
Where would you find these?
You know what? I'm just a fabric fiend.
Oh, like me.
I live for I buy fabric.
Oh, I didn't have much. I have a hi. My name's Jane. I'm a fabricaholic.
Yay!
I forgot that shirt, but anyways, yes, I'm a fabricaholic.
So you hear me. These are smaller cuts that could be used if you wanted to have a different colored yoke or collar. So I'll pass these around too. And then
here we go. Orange and green, what can I say?
Oh boy.
That's cool.
That's for the color.
Plaid. Very cool.
That's for the color. So that it's kind of soft on.
Yeah. Very cool. Because I think there's enough here for two.
so that's the idea of the kind of the alternate fabric or color for a yoke. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So when you're looking at those smaller pieces, that's what you're thinking. And then in regards to the little kid tunic, I do. Those are so fast and easy to do, and they're super fun for anybody that does do, you know, LARPing or any Stadians or just cosplayers with kids or with their brothers or cousins. Super fun, super easy. Can usually do it with a half yard of fabric or less, depending on the size of the child.
And you did like
You can do a variation of a tunic really easily that turns it into a costume. You know, do a brown tunic with a green yoke, you got Robin Hood. You know, put a green belt and a little hat on, you're set. Put a little brown hood onto it, you've got like a friar or a monk. So there's options. There's another with a really small yoke. Kind of giving you guys some ideas. And then another idea that's really good is just using the same color for your yoke and trimming it. That's another really easy little fun idea. Just showing some samples there. Okay, so with the one-piece T-tunic like we're going to do today, it's going to have very few cuts. There's going to be scissors.
Okay, well we can share scissors.
Anybody else want to look at?
I haven't seen this.
Okay, so that's right.
We can.
There's some fabric back there around.
Okay.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah. He's the subject of my tunic. I'm going to make it so that by next Orycon, it'll be a shirt. I'm going to make it like a dress and with longer sleeves, so by next Orycon, it'll be a shirt.
I think that'll be good.
Get it? And in between, you wear this tunic.
There you go.
Very big. It's very big, and by the end, it'll be very
Yeah, that's
small.
for if you want to choose an alternate piece for the interfacing.
Okay. It works.
Got it there. Okay.
I have yards and yards of cloth. How am I going to...
And you know, I don't think I brought my measuring tape, which is tragic.
Yeah, if you hold it taut,
Yeah.
you should just be able to slide.
Well, that's for yarding.
We've got a piece of fabric coming for you.
Okay.
Sadly, I don't have my tape measure, but we can. We'll just be kind of estimating tragically, but
Let me be working more in the room.
That is one kind of the good thing about the T-tunic is
Okay, they're on.
yeah, T-tunics
Okay.
are by definition loose. They're supposed to be loose. You cinch them in usually with something else. So
Wait.
estimating a little large is probably going to be okay if we have to do that.
So you're folding it into...
You're quartering it. You're quartering it. And the important part about the quartering is the long part should be at least as long as you want your tunic to hang, plus an inch. The wide part should be from the center of your chest until you want your sleeve to end, plus an inch.
Here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That all I have that has measuring on it is those.
I know, I have my rulers too. I think it's okay to estimate though with T-tunics. I really do. You want to be loose. Usually you're adding 6 or 7 inches to whatever your measurement is to make sure that you can don it. Unlike modern knit T-shirts where you can kind of stretch it this way and that. T-tunics are weaves.
So what are we
really
doing
want to
with
make
this?
sure that it's loose enough to get in and over. So you're gonna quarter your fabric. Fold it in half one way, fold it in half the other way, and you're looking at the rough size you have to work with.
Can you
Sure.
show me? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
That's going to be
Oops.
That is an amazing color.
Wow.
So
Too much lumber.
fold it in
You were
half.
waiting for somebody to do that, weren't you?
Fold it in half the one way,
Oh.
and then you fold it in half the second way. So what we're seeing with this piece of fabric is that it can be at least that long, the tunic, minus an inch, and it's going to be no wider than that, minus an inch. So she's got a short sleeve tunic here, a short sleeve long tunic, which would be good for going over maybe a light long sleeve chemise or
Hey,
something.
it's Ellen, my panelist needs a tape measure. Do you have one on site? If so, bring it
So
to
the
the
next
station.
part
Everybody.
is going to be, it's going to be your first cut, and it'll be one cut. You'll cut down on the sleeve, across the armpit, and down. This is like a square so you can picture the tunic, but in truth, we're going to cut that armpit with a curve. And the reason is, again, because it's a weave, it's not going to stretch, so that corner is going to make it really, really stiff getting it on there.
Okay.
And the measurement you would take before you started cutting, which I just have rulers, sadly, but
I don't know if it's at the right dimensions. We just grab
the measurement you would take
fabric. Oh yeah, this will work.
is your first measurement of your bicep. You know, you're going to want to make sure it's not super tight on you. So you go around with your tape measure. I've got about 12-inch bicep, I guess. And you would measure it, not with a ruler, but so if it's 12 inches, you don't want it to be 12 inches. That's going to be like a second skin. You want it to be 14, maybe 16 inches. You know, and if you want to do something like this, here's my 12 inches. My arm, comfortably I want my arm to fit like that. So if I'm 12 inches, that's 6 inches on each side because it's folded. And plus maybe I'm going to add like another foot to give myself a nice long drape. So I'm going to know, okay, I'm going to do about 18 inches down. The next measurement is you're going to want to get your chest, the thickest part of your torso. It could be if the thickest part of your torso is your belly, that's what you want. If it's your bust, that's what you want to measure because, again, it's not a knit, it's not going to form fit, it's going to be loose, and you want it to cover, you want to be able to get it on over whatever that measurement is. So, say it's 44. I've got my fabric folded in half, so again, it's going to be 22 to me. So it's going to be, right, and it's 44 total, so it's 22 on the top, and half of 22 is 11, right? Because you'll have a front and back side. It's folded and it's folded. It's quartered. So really, if my measurement's 44, then realistically, it's going to be 11. Because I'm dividing it by 4, I've got a quartered fabric. Again, I don't want it to be a second skin. Tunics aren't supposed to look like that. They're not easy to don or really hard to get off, and they'll rip if they're too tight. So you definitely want to go, you know, for me, I want a loose tunic, and I can stitch it in with a belt. That'll be great. So maybe I'm going to do 15 inches instead. So there is a lot of just adding stuff. How do you measure exactly how loose you want it? A lot of it is going to be kind of going for it, you know what I mean? Giving yourself a little extra room is fine, especially if you're going to wear a belt or a corset or something over the tunic. And with little kid tunics, I definitely say go out, give a lot of space, you know, they grow. You don't want to make another tunic in 5 months. So, So your first cut, and now I know if I'm doing that one, I'm going to go 18 here, 6 or 15 here, and I'm going to know that I'm going to measure myself from shoulder to where I want the tunic to end, and I'm going to add an inch because I'm going to have a hem on the bottom. So we'll just say I measured it and it was 29 inches where I wanted it to end. That's about mid-thigh. That's a pretty standard measurement. So I'm going to give myself 29 inches this way. So now I have all the measurements I need to begin. And this armpit measurement is going to be about 8 or 9. I'm going to bring that arc in a little bit for the armpit. So if I was cutting this fabric, I would have had a large piece of quartered fabric out to here maybe. I would have cut down once, over and slightly curved for the armpit, and then down as long as I wanted it, and across the bottom, and I would have my quartered tunic. Now I wouldn't have the neckline cut out yet though. And when I opened it up, if I opened it up, it would look something like this, you know, really big, just kind of a T tunic. You can kind of see the T shape in it. And so the next part, so you have this one, and it's all one piece of fabric, which is great. Less seams, the better.
So how much yardage is that?
So, like, typically your yardage comes 22 inches wide. Typically what I make is going to have to be, if I folded it, whatever length I chose, you know, this part of it from the center to where the sleeve ends can't be longer than 22 inches. Otherwise I have to buy a wider width fabric. So when you buy fabric and it's 22 inches, or 44, I'm sorry, 44, but we've got it folded in half. When you buy a 44-inch fabric, if you buy 3 yards, that's definitely going to be enough. That's going to be 1.5 yards long on the front and 1.5 yards long on the back. So you figure that's, you know, almost 50 inches, over 50 inches, 52 inches. So it's a lot of length. 2 yards is probably just long enough for women, or a shorter length tunic for a man. It's 1 yard long in the front, 1 yard long in the back. With 2 yards of fabric, you can easily make an adult tunic. With 1 yard of fabric, you can easily make a child's tunic, because you can actually fold it the other way, where the 22 inches is the length on the child, and you only maybe need 15 or 16 inches on that, you know, center of the breast to the sleeve measurement.
So if you have someone whose midsection is like about 60, 62.
They'll probably have a short sleeve tunic. And if you want a long sleeve tunic, you definitely can. But you're going to have separate sleeves, because the length is there no matter what. You can get it any length you want, but the width is the question. So if the middle of their chest to their arm is a little wider, the sleeve will just be a little shorter from that cut of fabric. And you could cut. Sleeves are pretty easy to add. I typically don't, because I like it sweet and simple. But if you're adding a sleeve, it's going to be a cut like this. You're going to take their measurement. Their wrist measurement's going to be reflected here with 1 inch or 2 for space. Their shoulder measurement's going to be reflected here.
And the shoulder goes all up through the armpit?
Yeah, exactly. This will be the inside of the armpit. It'll get sewn up along the top of the sleeve, and this will meet the inside of the armpit.
So it goes, you measure right that way. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, and then the length from shoulder to wrist will be reflected here. But it's actually so easy just to do a one-piece T-tunic that adding a sleeve is almost as difficult as making a second tunic. You know, it's really easy to make. So does anyone want to cut their fabric? Does anyone have a rough idea of their
She has hers laid out pretty good for the kids' tunic.
Awesome.
I've got you.
Yay! Thank you so much.
You cut out the first one. But the sleeves are obvious.
You can also, if you want to make a longer sleeve, see that piece that you're cutting away, you can take that and fold it and put it back up along that line that says fold. And then you just have a seam like here, and it goes further out that way.
Oh, okay.
So it's like if this is your T-tunic and this is as far as it goes,
Yeah.
you can just take another
The extra
extra
part.
piece that you have cut off and make it a tunic.
Okay, great.
It just means you have a seam here.
Yeah.
And if you want, you can trim over that seam, and then you don't know it's there, and it's just a pretty addition.
Yeah, because